Hello, welcome back to GOT. Today we're going to talk about the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. That's a mouthful. Is it worth the upgrade? And is it a phone you really should get over the Z Fold 6 or say even the Oneplus Open? Let's get to it. So in this video, I'm going to cover the major features of all these phones and then talk to you about my experience and what I think, and then you can decide from there. So let's start with the looks and feel and the display. As you know, the Oneplus Open and the Pixel 9 Pro Fold are very similar on chassis and everything. The looks are remarkably similar, other than when you look on the back, you see the square on the Pixel Fold, and then you have the large circle lens on the back of the Oneplus Open. And the one that stands out from the other two would be the Z Fold 6, as it has its streamlined 3 cameras, one over the other. Some people like that streamlined look where the cameras don't bulk out. Now the displays on these phones, you have the Oneplus Open and the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Those two phones, the external screens are the same dimensions according to paper. They're both 6.3 inch, or actually the Oneplus Open is considered a 6.31 inch. Both of those screens are nice and wide at about the size of your average bar phone, whereas the Z Fold is quite a bit more narrow. It's considered a 6.3 inch screen as well, but as you can see here, it's because it's taller and the measure is done diagonally. And when you're taller, the diagonal is going to be longer, giving it a 6.3 inch dimension. Now, when it comes to brightness, the new Pixel Fold is going to have the brightest screen out of all of them, although the Oneplus Open is right there, close to second, being a 2800, and the Pixel Fold being up to 3000 nits. Now, the Z Fold 6 has a 2600 nits max in its brightness. Of course, I believe once you hit the 2600, it's plenty bright for outdoor use. Now let's look at the inside of the phones. The inside display, now this is where they're all just a little bit different. You have the Z Fold 6 starting out at 7.6 inches. So that's the smallest screen of them all, where you have the Pixel Fold is considered 8 inches and the Oneplus Open is 7.8 inches on the inner screen. So if the size matters to you, well, then the Pixel Fold wins. If you're happier with the taller aspect ratio, then the Z Fold wins. But I got to tell you from experience, on the Oneplus Open, when you open it up, both sides are closer to 2 bar phones side by side, so they take advantage of full-size apps when opening it up and using apps side by side. Whereas on the Z Fold, they go to being just a little bit too narrow. You have to turn the phone a little bit if you want that wider aspect ratio to get it closer to the 2 bar phone sizes. Now moving on to the internal specs. When we look at the processors, the Z Fold 6 has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It's going to be the fastest processor out of the 3. However, we're hearing reports that the Google Tensor G4 is really powerful, and even in gaming, it seems to be outperforming the Z Fold 6. I'll put a link in the descriptions to a test that was done by a prominent YouTuber, so I recommend checking that out and see what you think. And then you have the Oneplus Open, which has last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, so it's going to run just a little bit behind the Z Fold 6. But I can tell you the Z Fold 5 running the Snapdragon 2 versus the Oneplus Open running the Snapdragon 2, the Oneplus Open really performs a whole lot better than the Z Fold. I don't know why that is. It's just snappier, faster, cooler, and the battery life, it seems to be a whole lot better. But we'll get the battery again in just a moment. And then this next category, RAM. Oh my goodness. Samsung fell asleep on this one. They're putting still 12 gigs of RAM in their Z Fold from the, I think even the 3, but I know from the 4, 5, and the 6, they stuck at 12 gigs of RAM, where both these two competitors, the new Pixel Fold and the Oneplus Open, they're at 16 gigs of RAM, which is really where they all need to be if they're going to be running that AI, because supposedly AI really consumes a lot of RAM. Now, when it comes to storage on all 3 devices, you've got 256 and 512 on the Samsung, and they'll even give you 1 terabyte if you want to. Then on the new Pixel, it has 256 or 512, where the Oneplus Open is 512 gigabytes of storage. That's it, no other options, which I think is great because when we get to pricing, you're going to see it's very, very competitive. Now, the next category is a big deal to me, maybe not to a lot of you folks, but the cameras. For some reason, the manufacturers don't think the cameras are a big deal on these foldables because they step down from their Pro models when they go into the foldable, which I really don't understand. So let's just look at those and you'll see what I'm talking about. So starting with the Z Fold 5, they have the 50 megapixel main shooter, which is what they carry in most of their cameras as the main shooters, the 50 megapixel. But then when they go to telescoping, the telescope camera, the 3x zoom, drops down to 10 megapixel. So that's really low for a zoom lens. So when you go to 3x zoom, you're getting the full megapixel, but if you want to go beyond that, like you can go 10 or 20 zoom, it really becomes pixelated. And because you don't have enough pixels to begin with, it's not as clear as some of these other competitors. And then you have the ultra wide camera on the Z Fold 6, which is 12 megapixels. Now let's jump on over to the new Pixel Fold. The new Pixel Fold is going to have a 48 megapixel main shooter, which on its counterpart pros, they have a 50. And here's where it gets disappointing when you go to the 5x zoom, it's a 10.8 megapixel 5x zoom. Now, you are already at 5x zoom, so presumably you'd have a better photo than what you would get if you try to move to 5x on the Z Fold, because this is a dedicated 5x zoom camera. But then again, when you go beyond that, now you're stretching pixels because of the low base megapixel being 10.8. They're not going to be as clear as its true pro counterparts who have a 48 megapixel 5x zoom. Not quite sure why they didn't just translate that into the Fold. And then we move on down to the ultra wide, which is a 10.5 megapixel ultra wide on the Pixel Fold. I'm not quite sure why they dropped that one too, because on its pro counterparts, again, it's a 48 megapixel camera. Then we move to the Oneplus Open. Its main shooter is a 48 megapixel, same as the Pixel Fold. Its zoom lens is a 3x zoom, but it's a 64 megapixel zoom. So you can imagine it's already a higher resolution camera than its counterparts at 64. So when you press the zoom on that, from my experience, the photos do come out much better. And then the Oneplus Open has a 48 megapixel ultra wide, again, beating the other two. So on cameras, I got to give that to the Oneplus Open. Now we can talk selfies, and on the Z Fold 5, it's a 4 megapixel under the display camera. That's pretty sad. The display camera on the external screen is a more competitive 10 megapixel. And then on the new Pixel Fold, both of the selfie cameras are 10 megapixel, whether you're using it on the inside screen or the outside screen. And then jumping into the Oneplus Open, you have a 20 megapixel selfie camera on the inside screen and a 32 megapixel camera on the outside screen. So here you go, the Oneplus Open winning again. So across the board, Oneplus Open does have the better cameras. Maybe not the better processing software. That goes to the Pixel Fold typically, but we still got to test that out once I get the phone. So let's start off with the Pixel Fold. It's dropped down to 4,650 milliamp hours. Now, a lot of us are concerned that they're putting a smaller battery in a larger phone. So we're really hoping that processor and everything else they put in it will help to conserve battery life. Now, its counterpart, almost identical phone, the OnePlus Open, has a 4,805 milliamp hour battery. So it's a little closer to what the original Pixel had. Now, when we jump over to the Z Fold is a pitiful 4,400 milliamp hour battery. So it's the smallest one of the three, but it does have the new N3 chip in it. So maybe it conserves battery better. We just have to wait and see. I can tell you right now from experience, the OnePlus Open does better than the Z Fold with battery life. So I'm really hoping we can say the same of the new Pixel Fold. Now, along with battery is charging. Nobody can beat the OnePlus Open. Got the 67 watt fast charging, and it is fast charging. You plug it in that thing, you can just watch the numbers go. The unfortunate thing with the OnePlus Open is no wireless charging. That could be a nuisance, but I haven't really noticed it. Typically, it's so easy to just plug it in and it's charged and you get going again. So it hasn't really bothered me, because even with the other phones, you put them on a wireless charger, you do have to wait a long time. For instance, the Pixel Fold, its wireless charging is going to be down to a pitiful 7 watt. Now that is slow. Now in the description, it just says fast charging and wireless charging, maybe because it's too embarrassing to mention. And on the Pixel Fold, the wired charging is 27 watts from what I understand. Now they mentioned on all their ads that it's fast charging with their 45 watt Google charger. Now I don't know if that's telling us it'll charge it at 45 watts or just with their 45 watt charger you get the max amount of charging speed out of it. Who knows? And then you move over to the Samsung. The Samsung is a 25 watt wired charging, which is pretty slow, and then 15 watt wireless charging. And if you want to throw in there, it has 4.5 watt reverse charging on the back side if you want to charge something, but you can't charge the new watch anymore because the Watch Ultra won't charge off of those devices. Now, if we go to operating system, right now, they are all on Android 14. The OnePlus comes with 13, but it's upgraded to 14 right now. So they're all even par on the operating system with Android. However, we know as always the Pixel will upgrade to Android 15 before the other two. Not that that really matters much, but if you're one of those that want to be an early adopter, well, the Pixel Fold is going to be the one for you. Now, we could talk about UIs, but I think that's a whole nother video. I will say that I do prefer the Samsung One UI over all of them, with the exception of the multitasking. You can't beat the OnePlus Open multitasking. But we'll talk about multitasking in another video once I have the Pixel Pro 9 Fold in hand. Now let's talk about the weight. The new Pixel Fold is coming out 257 grams, where the other two phones are equally matched at 239 grams. Not a whole lot of difference there. I'll let you know if I can feel the weight difference once I have the Pixel Fold in hand. Now, as far as water resistance, without going into details, I can just tell you that the Z Fold, with its rating, it can go underwater and come out and survive okay. It'll do better than the other two. The Pixel Fold, it can withstand a little bit more water than the OnePlus Open. The OnePlus Open, you get it wet and submerged, you need another phone. So if water is a concern for you, stay away from the OnePlus Open. Now, as far as pricing goes, it seems like Samsung is most proud of their phone at $1899. So that's quite a bit of chunk. And then you've got the Pixel Fold at $1799, same price as the previous years. So they did not raise their price. And then the OnePlus Open now, you can get it for $1199 because it's been out a while. And you can even get better deals on like eBay or even Amazon on something that's been renewed. You just got to shop wisely to find the great deals. So that's all the comparisons on these phones we'll talk about today. Which do I prefer? Right now, it is the OnePlus Open. However, I think once I get the new Pixel 9 Pro Fold, once I get that one in hand, I may switch over to that one as my favorite. But if they didn't improve the multitasking, well, I don't know what in the world Google's doing. Rumor is they are adding the app pairing maybe in Android 15, so I hope they do, because that's where you can open up two apps in one touch at the same time. You can do that on the Samsung and you can do that on the OnePlus Open, but you can't do that on the current Pixel Fold. Now, real quickly, I'd be amiss if I didn't mention this, because I know you folks out there would tell me the modems in the Pixel will allow you to call the emergency services, SOS, if you are in a remote place and you don't have cell service. So let me know if I missed anything that's important to you. Tell me down in the comments what you think. Which phone do you think will be superior once they come out? If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Please do so. Go down below, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any more content, especially all those comparisons we'll be doing once we get all these phones in hand. Also, if there's something you want me to look at specifically when we get these phones in hand, let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to smash that like button. It really does help out the channel. Thanks for hanging out with me. Until next time, God bless.